Greetings, banker, and thank you so much for agreeing to participate in the Teach Children to Save Day program. The lesson that I'm going to demonstrate for you now is based upon this book, My Rows and Piles of Coins, and it's for 3rd grade. In your packet you should have the book, a lesson plan, and attached to that lesson plan are a series of activity sheets. The ones that you will be doing in class with the students are the first one that is called How Many Shillings Is That? The second one, which is a grid called Different Ways to Save, looks like this. And finally the third one, which is called Did Saruni's Cousin in America Get His Bike? And it looks kind of like a banking balance, a checkbook balancing sheet. There are a couple of other activities that I'm sure you won't get to, but those are designed for the teacher to use as a follow-up. Now, if your teacher has an overhead projector, then you will have a transparency in your packet of the grid, the sheet. Many teachers don't have overhead projectors anymore. They have smart boards and they have Elmo projectors. In that case, you will not have that transparency in your packet. The teacher has electronic copies of all this material, and she or he will have it ready for you. So when you get to class, you're going to greet the children, and I'll give you a demonstration of the lesson. I'm not going to read the whole book because I can't record for more than 15 minutes on YouTube, and it would take too long. So I'm going to read most of the book, but skip over some of the pages. However, you would read the whole book to the class. So you would come in and say, "Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Mr. Jones, and I work for the ABC Bank, and I really enjoy working at a bank. A bank is a great place to meet people and to learn different skills. I especially like to use all the math that I know and my communication skills of talking to people and listening to people. And when people come to a bank, they come to save money. And it's a great place to save because banks are safe. Your money is safe when you bring it to a bank, and it's always there when you want it. Have you ever had something that you wanted to save for? I'm actually trying to save money to get a bike for my daughter, and it costs $100. Does anyone know how much bikes cost? Yeah, they could cost $100, they could cost $60, and you should write these numbers down on the board so that the kids have an idea of how much a bicycle costs. And if I wanted to save $10 a week to get a bike that costs $100, how long would I have to save? Well, I'd have to save 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10 weeks in order to save to get a $100 bike. Well, we're going to read a story about a boy who lives in Tanzania, and he has a goal. He wants to save for something. He earns money by going to the market each week. In Tanzania, their markets are a lot different than supermarkets or shopping malls in the United States. They sell things every week, and they get money in order to buy things like bicycles. And so I'm going to read the story of Saruni and his rows and piles of coins. After a good day at the market, my mother Yio gave me 5 whole 10-cent coins. I gaped at the money until Yio nudged me. "Saruni, what are you waiting for? Go buy something for yourself." And you can see the boy counting his money. I plunged into the market. I saw roasted peanuts, chapati, rice cakes, and sambusa. There were wooden toy trucks, kites, slingshots, and marbles. My heart beat excitedly. I wanted to buy everything, but I clutched the coins tightly in my pocket. Here you could show them the picture of this market. It's a lot different than markets in the United States. No cars, no trucks, but just people selling grain and toys and things that they make themselves out of baskets and crates. At the edge of the market I stopped. In a neat, sparkling row stood several big new bicycles. One of them was decorated all over with red and blue. That's what I would buy. For some time now, Moretti, my father, had been teaching me to ride his big, heavy bicycle. If only I had a bicycle of my own. A gruff voice startled me. "What are you looking for, little boy?" I turned and bumped into a tall, skinny man who laughed at my confusion. Embarrassed, I hurried back to Yio. So now we know that Saruni has a savings goal. He wants to save to get a bicycle. That night, I dropped 5 10-cent coins into my secret money box. It held other 10-cent coins Yio had given me for helping with market work on Saturdays. By the dim light of a lantern, I feasted my eyes on the money. I couldn't believe it was all mine. I emptied the box, arranged all the coins in piles, and the piles in rows. Then I counted the coins and thought about the bicycle I longed to buy. And you can see he's working by a kerosene lamp because they don't have electricity in his village. And here's all his coins he's saving. Saturday after Saturday, we took goods to market, piled high on Yi-Yo's head and on my squeaky old wheelbarrow. We sold dried beans and maize, pumpkin, spinach, bananas, firewood, and eggs. My money box grew heavier. I emptied the box, arranged the coins in piles, and the piles in rows. Then I counted the coins and thought about that blue and red bicycle. So you see, he wants to get a bicycle so he can help his mother so she won't have to carry those heavy loads on her head, or him having to push that wheelbarrow. And you can see his rows of coins are getting bigger. The heavy March rains came. The ground became so muddy nobody went to market. Instead, I helped Yi-Yo's house chores. When it wasn't raining, I helped Moretti on the coffee farm. We pruned the coffee trees and put fallen leaves and twigs around the coffee stems. Whenever I could, I practiced riding Moretti's bicycle. It stopped raining in June, and not long after school closed. Our fresh harvest of maize, peas, sweet potatoes, vegetables, and fruits was so big that we went to the market Saturdays and Wednesdays. My money box grew heavier and heavier. I emptied the box, arranged the coins in piles and the piles in rows. Then I counted the coins and thought about the bicycle I would buy. These piles of coins are getting bigger and bigger. On the first Saturday after school opened in July, we went to the market as usual. Late in the afternoon, after selling all that we had, Yi-Yo sat talking with another trader. I set off into the crowd. I wore the old coat that Moretti had handed down to me for chilly days like today. My precious coins were wrapped in various bundles inside the oversized pockets of the coat. I must be the richest boy in the world, I thought, feeling like a king. I can buy anything. What do you think he's going to try to buy? Yep, I think you're right. The tall, skinny man was polishing his bicycles as I came up. I want to buy a bicycle, I said, and brought out my bundles of coins. The man whistled in wonder as I unwrapped the money carefully on his table. How many coins have you got there? Proudly I told him, 305. 305, he muttered. That's 30 shillings and 50 cents. He exploded with laughter. A whole bicycle for 30 shillings and 50 cents? His laugh followed me as I walked away with my bundles and coins, feeling deeply disappointed. On our way home, Yi-Yo asked me what was wrong. I had to tell her everything. You saved all your money for a bicycle to help me, she asked. I could tell she was amazed and touched. How nice of you. As for the tall, skinny man, she scoffed. Ugh, what does he know? Of course you will buy a bicycle. One day you will. And her kind words, though, did not cheer me up. The next afternoon, the sound of picky-picky filled the air. Tuk, 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 tuk. I came out of the house and stared in astonishment. Moretti was perched on an orange motorbike. He cut the engine and dismounted. Then, chuckling at my excited question about the picky-picky, he headed into the house. When Moretti came out, Yi-Yo was with him, and he was wheeling his bicycle. I want to sell this to you for 30 shillings and 50 cents. He winked at me. Surprised, I stared at Moretti. How did he know about my secret money box? I hadn't told him anything. Then suddenly I realized the wonderful thing that had just happened. My bicycle! I have my very own bicycle, I said. And it didn't matter that it wasn't decorated with red or blue. Within moments, I brought out my money box. Moretti gave Yi-Yo the box, and Yi-Yo gave it back to me. Puzzled, I looked from Yi-Yo to Moretti, and then back to Yi-Yo. You're giving it back to me? She smiled. It's a reward for all the help you are to us. Oh, thank you, I cried with glee. The next Saturday, my load sat tall and proud on my bicycle, which I walked importantly to the market. I wasn't riding it because Yi-Yo would never be able to keep up. Looking over at her, I wished she didn't have to carry such a big load on her head. If only I had a cart to pull behind my bicycle, I thought. I could lighten her load. That night, I emptied the box, arranged all the coins in piles and the piles in rows. Then I counted the coins and thought about the cart that I would buy. So Saruni started out with one savings goal. he wanted to buy a bicycle. When he finally got his bicycle, he has another savings goal. Now he wants to buy a cart to help his mother. So now you could ask the students questions like, what was his savings goal? To buy a bicycle. How many coins did he save? 305. Why did the man laugh? Because 305 coins was not nearly enough to buy a bike. And so now we're going to do some activities, boys and girls, and we're going to let you work together with a partner. And so you can get the kids into pairs and start with this first sheet, which is called How Many Shillings Is That? Because we're going to figure out why the man laughed when Saruni showed him all of his coins. And you can read the directions to the students. It says, in the book, the boy lives in Tanzania, and in Tanzania the money is called shillings. And then there's a little breakdown of the exchange rate between shillings and dollars. And you can write that on the board. And I think you should write circles, like 8 shillings, draw 8 circles, equals $1. And half of that, 4 shillings, equals 50 cents. And half of that, 2 shillings, equals 25 cents. And so now the students can complete this, and you can do the first 2 with them. A banana costs 8 shillings. And looking up at the chart, they could see that 8 shillings equals $1, and they would write $1 in this line. Next one is a pair of socks costs 24 shillings. Well, 24 shillings is the same as 8 plus 8 plus 8, or $3, and write that in the blank. Then you can leave them to finish the rest of the sheet and kind of walk around the class to see how they're doing. And the question is, you're trying to save $25. You have $25 in your pocket. Is $25 enough to buy all of these things? What they're going to find is that it's not, and they'll have to take a couple of items off of the list in order to equal $25. Now, it says in the lesson plan not to do the bonus, but I think you should. And so what you're going to show them is that, boys and girls, Saruni had 305 coins, which equaled about 30 shillings. Let's see how much 30 shillings is in dollars. Well, 20 shillings is $2.50, and 10 shillings is $1.25. So 250 plus 125 is $3.75. So we know that $3.75 is not nearly enough to buy a bicycle, and that's why the man laughed at him. When they finish this activity, if you have an overhead projector, you would display this grid. If not, the teacher will have it displayed on her smartboard or on her Elmo projector. And what this grid shows is we're going to compare different ways of saving things. Now, Saruni saved his money in a box, but you can save money in a piggy bank, a wallet, a dresser drawer, all kinds of different places, also in a bank. So, boys and girls, each of these has an advantage or a disadvantage. The advantage is the good thing, the disadvantage is the bad thing. An advantage of saving in a piggy bank is that your money is right there and you can see it. The disadvantage is the bank might break, or someone might take money from your bank, or you might forget where you put it. And we're going to do advantages and disadvantages, and you let the students work in pairs to complete that and discuss it when you're finished. But at the bottom, let's talk a little bit with the students about the advantages and disadvantages of putting money in a savings account. Well, the advantage is that the money is always safe, and another advantage is that it earns interest. The bank actually pays you to keep your money in the bank. And the longer you keep your money in, the more interest you earn. So it's always a good idea to save often and for a long period of time. A disadvantage of putting money in a savings account is that you have to drive in your car to get there, so it's not right at your fingertips all the time. When they finish this sheet, you'll go on to the third one, which is, will Saruni's cousin save to get his bike? And this is kind of like a bank deposit sheet, and it has statements like he saves $3.50. I would have the students underline the word saves and then put a plus sign, because when you save, you're adding money to your account. And when he spends money, underline spends, and that would be a minus sign because you're subtracting money from the account. And they can complete this sheet putting pluses and minuses, and they can do their work in this column. And what they'll find at the end, but don't tell them this ahead of time, is that he doesn't have enough money. And so they should suggest to him that he needs to save more than he spends in order to save for his bike. In conclusion, then, you would review the concepts of saving goals, different currencies, how it's important to save each week, how banks are safe, and that banks pay interest, and it's always important to save more than you spend. And that's the lesson for rows and piles of coins. Thank you.